She fixed his expensive car on the side of the road and refused his money. "Just buy me a sandwich," she said with a tired smile. What she didn't know, the man in the suit was a mafia boss trying to leave his dark past behind. And that one act of kindness was about to change both their lives forever. The Mercedes wasn't supposed to die on Route 47. Anna Delvecchio wiped sweat from her forehead with the back of her grease-stained hand, squinting at the black luxury car sitting crooked on the shoulder like a wounded animal. She'd been driving home from picking up Eli from school when she spotted it, hood up, steam billowing into the late afternoon sun. Most people would have kept driving. Smart people, anyway. But Anna had never been accused of being smart, just stubborn. She pulled her rattling '98 Ford pickup onto the gravel and killed the engine. Through her dusty windshield, she watched a man in an expensive suit pace beside the Mercedes, phone pressed to his ear. Even from 50 feet away, she could tell he didn't belong here. His shoes probably cost more than her monthly rent. "Mom, why are we stopping?" Eli's voice piped up from the passenger seat, his face buried in a comic book. "Someone needs help, baby. But you always say we can't afford." "I know what I always say." Anna grabbed her toolbox from the truck bed. "Stay in the car. Lock the doors." Eli rolled his eyes but obeyed. 9 years old, and already too smart for his own good. As Anna approached, the man turned. He was younger than she'd expected, maybe early 40s, with dark hair silver at the temples and eyes that looked like they'd seen things most people only had nightmares about. A thin scar ran along his jawline, barely visible unless you were looking for it. He ended his call abruptly. "You with a tow service?" "Nope. Just someone who knows her way around an engine." Anna set down her toolbox. "What happened?" The man studied her for a moment, his gaze sharp and calculating. Temperature gauge spiked. "Started smoking. I pulled over before it got worse." "Smart move." Anna popped the hood fully open and waved away the remaining steam. "Could be the radiator. Could be a busted hose. Mind if I take a look?" He gestured toward the engine with a slight smile. "Be my guest. Though I should warn you, I already called for a tow truck that won't get here for 2 hours minimum on a Friday afternoon." Anna leaned over the engine bay, her practiced eyes scanning for the problem. "Yeah, I figured." She heard him chuckle, a sound that seemed rusty, like he didn't use it often. Within 30 seconds, Anna spotted it. "There's your problem. Upper radiator, hose split. See that crack?" She pointed to where coolant had sprayed across the engine block. "It's an easy fix if you've got the parts." "Which you don't." "Of course not." "Lucky for you. I've got a spare that'll work." Anna straightened up, pulling a rag from her back pocket to wipe her hands. "It's universal fit. Won't be pretty, but it'll get you where you need to go." The man's eyebrows rose. "You just happen to carry spare radiator hoses?" "I'm a mechanic. I carry everything." She walked back to her truck, aware of his eyes following her. Men always looked at her like she was some kind of circus act, a woman who could fix things they couldn't. She grabbed the hose and a jug of coolant from her organized chaos of a truck bed. Eli had pressed his face against the window, watching everything. "How much?" the man asked when she returned. "How much what?" "For the repair. The parts. Your time." He reached for his wallet, one of those slim leather things that probably held more cash than she made in a month. Anna held up a hand. "Put that away. I don't want your money." His hand froze. "Everyone wants money." "Well, I'm not everyone." She knelt beside the engine again, positioning the new hose. "But I am starving. Skipped lunch today because Eli had a dentist appointment and we were running late. So if you really want to pay me back, you can buy me a sandwich from Mickey's Diner about 5 miles up the road. Best turkey club you'll ever have." Silence. Anna glanced up to find him staring at her like she'd just spoken in a foreign language. "A sandwich," he repeated slowly. "Yeah. You know, bread, meat, lettuce." Very complicated culinary concept. She tightened the hose clamps with practiced efficiency. "I'll take a root beer too, if you're feeling generous." The corner of his mouth twitched. "You're serious." "Dead serious." "I can taste that turkey club already." Anna stood, brushing off her knees. Let me top off your coolant and you'll be good to go. Just drive easy for the first few miles until everything settles. She poured the coolant in, checked the oil level out of habit, and slammed the hood shut with a satisfying thunk. The whole repair had taken maybe 15 minutes. The man was still watching her with that strange intensity. Up close, she noticed his clothes weren't just expensive. They were immaculate. Not a wrinkle, not a speck of dust. He smelled like cedar and something darker, like smoke from a fire that had burned out long ago. "Start her up," Anna said. He climbed into the driver's seat, leather interior, of course, and turned the key. The Mercedes purred to life, like nothing had ever been wrong. Anna gave him a thumbs up. "You're all set. And hey, don't feel bad about the sandwich thing. I was coming this way anyway." "What's her name?" he asked, stepping out of the car.
Anna.
"Anna Del Vecchio." "Nikolai," he extended his hand. "But most people call me Cole." His grip was firm, his palm calloused in unexpected places. Not the soft hands of a businessman who pushed papers all day. These were hands that knew work, maybe not her kind of work, but work nonetheless. "Well, Cole, you take care of that hose. Get it properly replaced when you can." Anna picked up her toolbox. "And seriously, Mickey's Diner. 5 miles north. They close at 9-inch. I'll remember." That something flickered across his face. Surprise, maybe, or curiosity. "Thank you, Anna." She waved him off and headed back to her truck, where Eli was practically bouncing in his seat. "Who was that guy?" Eli demanded as she climbed in. "Just someone who needed help, baby." He looked important. Anna glanced in her rearview mirror. The Mercedes was pulling back onto the highway, sleek and powerful, like it had never been vulnerable at all. "Yeah," she murmured, starting her truck. "He did, didn't he?" She didn't know it then, couldn't have known, but in 15 minutes on the side of a dusty highway, she'd just saved the life of the most dangerous man in 3 states. And in return, he was about to turn her entire world upside down. All for the price of a sandwich she'd never get to eat. Anna was elbow-deep in a carburetor when she heard the engine. Not just any engine, that particular purr of German engineering that cost more than her house. She didn't need to look up to know it was the Mercedes from yesterday. "You've got to be kidding me," she muttered, wiping her hands on a rag that had long ago given up being clean. Her garage wasn't much, a converted barn on the edge of town with a hand-painted sign that read, "Del Vecchio's Auto Repair," in fading letters. Most days, she fixed pickup trucks and sedans held together by rust and prayer. A car like that Mercedes didn't belong here. Through the open bay door, she watched Cole step out, looking impossibly crisp in dark slacks and a white shirt with the sleeves rolled to his elbows. Somehow, he'd managed to find the only pothole-free path across her gravel lot. "Morning," he called out, that slight smile playing at his lips again. "Let me guess," Anna said, not bothering with pleasantries. "The hose I put on yesterday is leaking already." "Not at all. Works perfectly." He approached slowly, hands in his pockets, taking in the organized chaos of her workspace. "But the engine's making a strange sound. Thought you might take a look." Anna raised an eyebrow. "Strange how?" "Like a clicking. When I accelerate." She studied him for a moment. His posture was too relaxed for someone worried about their car. And that suit. Nobody wore a suit like that to a garage unless they were trying to make an impression or they didn't know any better. Cole didn't strike her as the type who didn't know better. "Pull it into the bay," she sighed. "Let me hear it." He did, and she listened as the engine idled. Smooth as silk. She had him rev it a few times, put it in gear, reverse, back to neutral. Not a click, not a tick, not even a whisper out of place. "Your engine's fine," Anna said flatly. "You sure?" "Because I distinctly heard." "Mr. Vasaro," she crossed her arms. "I've been fixing cars since I was 16. That engine is running better than most cars half its age. So either you've got supernatural hearing, or you drove all the way back here for a different reason." The smile spread across his face, genuine this time. "You caught me." "Yeah, I caught you." Anna grabbed her in voice pat out of habit, then realized she had nothing to write. So, what's the real reason? Cole reached into his car and pulled out a brown paper bag. The smell hit her immediately. Fresh bread, roasted turkey, that specific blend of spices Mickey used on his club sandwiches. You never got your payment, he said simply. Anna stared at the bag. You drove back here to bring me a sandwich. 2 sandwiches, actually, and root beer. Figured your son might be hungry too. He glanced around the garage. Where is Eli, by the way? Something cold trickled down her spine. How do you know my son's name? You said it. Yesterday. When you told him to lock the doors.
Had she?
Anna replayed the moment in her head. Maybe.
Probably.
Still, the way he said Eli's name, casual but certain, made her uneasy. He's at school, she said carefully, where 9-year-olds are supposed to be at 10 in the morning.
Right.
Of course, Cole set the bag on her workbench, next to a disassembled fuel pump. I also wanted to make sure the repair held up. Professional curiosity. You're in the car business? Something like that. He wandered over to her wall of tools, organized with the precision of someone who relied on them. You run this place alone. Most days. Sometimes I get help from Jerry down the street when I need an extra pair of hands. Anna watched him carefully. Look, I appreciate the sandwich, I really do. But I've got 3 cars backed up and a timing belt that needs replacing before noon, so. How long have you been doing this? The question caught her off guard. Doing what? Running the garage. Raising your son alone. All of it. Anna's jaw tightened. That's really not your business. You're right. I'm sorry, but he didn't move toward the door. Instead, he turned to face her fully, and she saw something in his eyes that hadn't been there yesterday, a kind of recognition, like he was seeing her for the first time. It's just, you remind me of someone. Someone who used to tell me that the best way to fix something is to understand why it broke in the first place. Sounds like a smart person. She was past tense. The way he said it left no room for questions. An uncomfortable silence settled between them, broken only by the distant sound of a horn honking on Main Street. Anna cleared her throat. Well, thanks for the sandwich. And the root beer. Eli will be thrilled. He's been pestering me about Mickey's all week. She moved toward the Mercedes, a gentle hint toward the exit. But seriously, your car is fine. Better than fine. Whatever clicking you thought you heard, it's not mechanical. Cole nodded slowly, pulling his keys from his pocket. But as he opened the driver's door, he paused. You said you're backed up. 3 cars. Yeah, so. What if you had help? Would that free up your afternoon? Anna laughed. Help costs money, and unless you moonlight as a mechanic. I could try. She stopped laughing. You're serious? I'm good with my hands. Used to work on engines when I was younger, he shrugged, and something about the gesture seemed almost vulnerable. Been a while, but some things you don't forget. Why would you want to spend your day covered in grease? For a long moment, Cole didn't answer. When he finally spoke, his voice was quieter. Maybe because yesterday, for 15 minutes, I forgot who I was supposed to be. And I'd like to feel that again. Anna should have said no. Every instinct she'd honed over years of being careful, of protecting herself and Eli, told her to send this strange, expensive man away. But there was something in his voice, something hollow and honest, that made her hesitate. You'll ruin that nice shirt, she said instead. Cole smiled, already rolling up his sleeves higher. I'll survive.
Fine.
But you're taking orders from me, understood? Yes, ma'am. As Anna handed him a wrench and pointed him toward the Chevy with the leaking oil pan, she caught herself smiling.
Dangerous thing, that.
Smiling at strangers who showed up twice for no good reason. Especially strangers who drove cars worth more than her life. Especially strangers whose eyes held secrets she probably didn't want to know. The envelope was thick.
Too thick.
Anna found it wedged under her front door when she got home that evening, her back aching from a long day and her mind still replaying the strange sight of Cole Vasaro changing oil with the careful precision of a surgeon. He'd been good. Better than good. His hands moved like they remembered things his mind had forgotten, tightening bolts with exact pressure, checking fluid levels with practiced efficiency. They'd worked in comfortable silence most of the afternoon, and when Eli had arrived after school, Cole had simply nodded at him and kept working. Eli had watched him like he was a fascinating science experiment. Now, standing in her dim hallway with that envelope in her hands, Anna felt her stomach twist. She knew what it was before she opened it. The return address confirmed it. First National Bank. The same bank that had been sending her increasingly urgent letters for 3 months. But this letter was different. Inside, clipped to her mortgage statement, was a cashier's check. Already processed. Already paid. The full amount of her 3 months of arrears, plus next month's payment. $4,600. Her hands started shaking. There was no note.
No explanation.
Just the check and a stamped receipt showing the payment had been submitted that morning at 9:47 a.m., right around the time Cole Vasaro had pulled into her garage complaining about an engine that purred like a kitten.
No, Anna whispered. No, no, no.
Mom, Eli called from the kitchen. Can I have the sandwich now? I'm starving. In a minute, baby. Her mind raced. How did he even know? How did he find out about the mortgage? She hadn't told him. Hadn't told anyone except Jerry, and Jerry wouldn't. Unless Cole had looked it up. Unless he'd done some digging after that first meeting on the highway. Unless he was the kind of man who had resources to find things out. The kind of man who drove a Mercedes and had scars on his jaw and calluses in strange places. Anna grabbed her phone and pulled up the search engine, typing with fumbling fingers. Nikolai Vasaro. The results loaded slowly, too slowly, and then all at once. Her breath caught. The first link was a news article from 2 years ago. Alleged crime figure Nikolai Cole Vasaro avoids indictment. Witnesses recant. The second, Vasaro family ties to organized crime. Federal investigation stalls. The third, a blurry photo of Cole stepping out of a courthouse, flanked by lawyers who probably cost more per hour than she made in a week. Oh God, Anna breathed. She scrolled frantically, clicking through article after article. Money laundering, racketeering, suspected involvement in construction fraud. Nothing stuck, nothing proven, but the word alleged appeared so many times it might as well have been his middle name. Nikolai alleged Vasaro. And she'd let him work in her garage, around her son. Anna's hands were still shaking when she grabbed her keys. She found him at the Riverside Hotel, the only place in town expensive enough for a man like him. The desk clerk tried to stop her, but Anna had a way of moving through obstacles when she was angry enough. She pounded on room 412 until the door swung open. Cole stood there in a t-shirt and dark pants, barefoot, looking almost normal except for the phone in his hand and the startled expression that quickly shifted to understanding. Anna. You can't just buy people, Mr. Vasaro. She shoved the envelope against his chest. Take it back.
He didn't take it. Didn't even look at it.
It's not buying. It's repayment. Repayment? For what? A 15-minute repair that cost you a sandwich. For peace of mind, his voice was calm, infuriatingly calm. You helped me. I wanted to help you. I didn't ask for your help. I didn't ask for you to dig into my life and find out that I'm 3 months behind on my mortgage, and her voice cracked. You had no right. You're right. I didn't. Cole finally took the envelope, but instead of keeping it, he set it on the dresser behind him. But I did it anyway. And the payment's already processed. The bank won't reverse it. Anna felt tears burning behind her eyes and hated herself for it.
Why?
Why would you do this? Because I could. He ran a hand through his hair, and for the first time since she'd met him, he looked uncertain. Because yesterday you asked for a sandwich when you could have asked for anything. Because today you let a stranger work in your garage without asking questions. Because he stopped, seeming to struggle with the words. Because people like you don't exist in my world, Anna. And when I find them, I try to protect them. I don't need protection. I need to take care of myself. That's how it works. I know. I'm sorry, he meant it. She could hear it in his voice. But the damage is done. The mortgage is paid. You can be angry at me for that, and you have every right. But don't punish yourself by letting the bank come after your house when the problem's already solved. Anna swiped at her eyes angrily. I looked you up. I know who you are. What you are. Something shifted in his expression. The warmth disappeared, replaced by something harder, more guarded. Then you know why you should stay away from me.
Yeah.
I do. Good, but he didn't sound like it was good. He sounded like he'd just lost something. Anna turned to leave, then stopped. For what it's worth. The man who fixed cars in my garage today? He seemed like a good person. But I don't know if he's real, or if he's just another thing you're good at pretending to be. She didn't wait for an answer.
Didn't want one.
As she walked down the hotel corridor, her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Keep the payment. Please. Consider it repayment for something I can't get back. A few hours of being someone better than I am. Anna deleted the message. But she didn't return the envelope. And lying in bed that night, watching Eli sleep peacefully in the next room, in a house that wouldn't be taken from them, she hated herself a little for that. For accepting help from a man whose hands had fixed engines today, but had probably broken other things she didn't want to imagine. For wondering if someone dangerous could still be good. For hoping, against all logic, that she might see him again. 3 days passed before Anna saw him again. 3 days of telling herself she was relieved. 3 days of jumping every time an expensive car drove past her garage. 3 days of Eli asking, "Where's that guy who helped you?" until she snapped at him to focus on his homework. Then, on Tuesday morning, Cole walked through her garage door carrying 2 coffee cups and a white paper bag. Anna was underneath a Dodge Ram, cursing at a stubborn brake line. She rolled out on her creeper and found him standing there, looking less polished than before. Jeans, a dark Henley, work boots that had actually seen work. "I come in peace," he said, holding up the offerings. "Mickey's coffee. Still hot. And those cinnamon rolls you mentioned to Eli last week." Anna sat up slowly. "You're joking." "I don't joke about cinnamon rolls." He set them on her workbench. "Look, I know you said to stay away. And I will if that's really what you want. But I thought maybe we could talk first. Like adults. Without anger or envelopes." She should have sent him away. Should have thrown the coffee at his expensive boots and told him to get lost. Instead, she wiped her hands and took the cup. The coffee was perfect. Cream, no sugar, exactly how she liked it. Which meant he'd been paying attention. Dangerous thing that. 5 minutes, Anna said. Then I've got work to do. Fair enough. Cole leaned against her workbench, careful not to disturb her organized tools. I didn't come here to complicate your life. I came here to, I don't know, be someone different for a while. Different from a crime boss. His jaw tightened. I've never been convicted of anything. That's not a denial. No, he admitted quietly. It's not. Anna took a long sip of coffee, studying him. In this light, he looked tired. There were shadows under his eyes she hadn't noticed before, and that scar on his jaw seemed more pronounced. Why here? Why my garage? There are probably 100 mechanics between here and wherever you actually live. Because you asked for a sandwich, he said it simply, like it explained everything. Do you know what people usually ask me for? Money. Power. Favors that cost them their soul. You asked for a sandwich and meant it. He trailed off, searching for words. That's rare. It was just a sandwich.
No.
It was proof that people like you still exist. Before Anna could respond, the sound of a school bus squealing to a halt made them both turn. Through the open bay door, they watched Eli jump down the steps, his backpack bouncing. He's home early, Anna muttered. Half day. I completely forgot. Eli's face lit up when he spotted Cole. Mr. Vasara. Mom said you weren't coming back. Did she now? Cole's expression softened in a way that made Anna's chest ache. She said you were too busy being complicated. Eli used air quotes, grinning. I didn't know what that meant, but it sounded important. Your mom's very smart. I know. She fixed Mrs. Patterson's car when it died in the church parking lot and wouldn't even take the money. Mrs. Patterson baked us cookies instead. Eli dropped his backpack and eyed the white bag. Are those Mickey's cinnamon rolls? They are. Your mom said they were your favorite. Eli looked at Anna with hopeful eyes. She sighed.
Fine.
One roll, then homework. As Eli grabbed his prize and disappeared into the small office that doubled as her break room, Cole smiled. He's a good kid.
Yeah.
He is. Anna's voice softened. His dad would have been proud. How long has it been?
For years. Construction accident.
Wrong place, wrong time, faulty scaffolding. She stared into her coffee cup. The company settled for barely enough to bury him. Said they weren't liable because he'd signed a waiver. That's legal?
Yeah.
Fair? No, Anna shrugged, but her shoulders stayed tight. That's life. You deal with what comes and you keep moving.
For Eli.
That's all that matters. Cole was quiet for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was rough. My mother used to say something similar. Before she died. That the only thing worth protecting in this world was family. She sounds wise.
She was.
Until my father's business killed her. He caught Anna's questioning look and shook his head. Long story. Wrong story for a Tuesday morning. But Anna saw it, a flash of pain so raw it made her forget, just for a moment, what he was. Made her see only what he'd lost. Look, she said carefully, I can't have you in my life. Not regularly. Not with Eli. It's too risky. I understand. But, she hesitated. If you want to grab coffee sometimes.
Talk.
Like normal people. I guess that wouldn't be the worst thing. Something lit up in his eyes. Normal people? Don't push it, Vasaro. Wouldn't dream of it. He pushed off the workbench and she noticed him pull out his phone, glancing at the screen. His expression darkened immediately. Problem? Anna asked. Just work. Nothing that can't wait, but the way he said it clipped tight, told her it absolutely couldn't wait. I should go. Let you get back to that break line. Cole, she didn't know why she stopped him. Whatever you're about to do, be careful. He paused at the garage door, backlit by autumn sunshine. I'm always careful. That's not what I meant. He knew. She could tell by the way his shoulders straightened, by the ghost of a smile that crossed his face. I know. After he left, Anna stood there holding her coffee cup, watching his Mercedes disappear down the road. From the office, Eli called out, Mom? I like him. He's different from other grown-ups. Yeah, baby, Anna murmured. That's what I'm afraid of. She didn't know that at that very moment, Cole was sitting in his car 3 blocks away, staring at his phone. At a message from his lieutenant, Marchetti moving product through the East Territory. Wants a meeting. Could be a trap. She didn't know that he'd just canceled that meeting. Told his lieutenant to handle it without violence. She didn't know that for the first time in 15 years, Nikolai Vasaro was choosing coffee over blood. All because a woman with grease under her fingernails had asked for a sandwich. The black SUVs appeared on a Thursday. Anna noticed them because they didn't belong. 2 identical Escalades with tinted windows, parked across from her garage for 20 minutes without anyone getting out. Just sitting there. Watching. She tried to ignore them, focusing on the transmission she was rebuilding for old Mr. Chin, but her hands kept fumbling. Something felt wrong. That animal instinct that had kept her safe in a man's industry, that had taught her which customers to trust and which to turn away. These SUVs screamed danger. By noon, they were gone. Anna told herself she'd imagined the threat, that she was being paranoid after learning about Cole's past. But they came back Friday. Same spot. Same vehicles. This time, one of the doors opened and a man stepped out mid-50s, expensive suit, slicked back hair. He didn't approach. Just stood there smoking a cigarette, his eyes fixed on her garage like he was memorizing every detail. Anna pulled out her phone and called the only number she had. Cole answered on the first ring. Anna? There are men watching my garage. She kept her voice low, moving deeper into the bay. Black SUVs. Been here 2 days now. One of them just stared at me for 10 minutes straight. Silence on the other end. Then, get Eli. Go inside. Lock the doors. Cole, what's...
Now, Anna.
Please. The urgency in his voice made her stomach drop. She didn't argue.
Ellie.
Inside. Right now. Eli looked up from where he was drawing on the office floor.
But Mom. Now.
Something in her tone made him obey immediately. Anna ushered him into the small apartment attached to the garage, the cramped space where they actually lived. She locked the door, pulled the blinds, and tried to keep her breathing steady. Who are they? She asked into the phone. Competitors. People from my old life. Cole's voice was tight. Anna, I need you to listen carefully. They're not there for you. They're there because of me. Because I've been coming to see you. What? Her blood went cold. Why would they care about that? Because in my world, anyone I show interest in becomes leverage. A pressure point. She heard an engine roaring to life on his end. I'm 20 minutes away. Don't open the door for anyone. If they approach, what? Cole, you're scaring me. Good. You should be scared. These aren't good people, Anna. And you are. The words came out sharper than she intended. A pause.
No.
I'm not. But I won't let them touch you or Eli. I promise you that. The line went dead. Anna pulled Eli close, feeling his small body trembling against hers. Through a crack in the blinds, she could see one of the SUVs still parked across the street. The smoking man had been joined by another, younger, broader, with tattoos creeping up his neck. Mom, who are those people?
Ellie whispered.
I don't know, baby. But we're going to stay right here until they leave. Is it because of Mr. Vasaro? Anna's heart clenched. Her 9-year-old son, too smart for his own good, putting pieces together she'd tried to keep separate. Maybe. I don't know. Is he bad? Like criminal bad? She wanted to lie. Wanted to tell him Cole was just a businessman, that everything was fine, that the world was safe and fair and good. But she'd never lied to Eli before. Wasn't about to start now. I think he used to be, she said carefully. But I also think he's trying to be different.
People are complicated, Eli.
They're not just good or bad. The kids at school say their parents are good or bad. Mrs. Henderson says there's always a clear right and wrong. Mrs. Henderson hasn't lived enough life yet. Anna smoothed his hair back. Sometimes good people make bad choices. Sometimes bad people try to make good ones. It's all just messy. 15 minutes crawled by. Then 20. Anna was about to call the police. Consequences be damned. When she heard it. The Mercedes. Cole's car pulled up fast, parking directly in front of her garage. He got out, and Anna's breath caught. This wasn't the man who'd brought her coffee and cinnamon rolls. This was someone else entirely. His jaw was set, his movements precise and predatory. He walked straight toward the SUVs without hesitation. The two men straightened, cigarettes dropping. Words were exchanged, too far away for Anna to hear, but close enough to see Cole's body language. He wasn't backing down. Wasn't showing fear. The broad man with neck tattoos stepped forward, getting in Cole's face. For a moment, Anna was certain she was about to witness violence. Then Cole pulled out his phone, showed them something on the screen, and everything changed. The tattooed man stepped back. The older one's expression shifted from threatening to uncertain, maybe even afraid. More words. Sharp gestures. Then both men retreated to their SUVs. The engine started. The vehicles pulled away, disappearing down Main Street like they'd never been there at all. Cole stood in the middle of the road for a long moment, shoulders tight, before turning toward her garage. Anna unlocked the door before he could knock. Are they gone? She demanded. Yes, he looked exhausted. They won't come back. How can you be sure? Because I made them understand that you're off limits. That touching you would be the last mistake they ever made, he said it matter-of-factly, like he was discussing the weather. Anna's stomach twisted. What did you show them? On your phone? Proof that I still have resources. That I'm not as removed from that world as they thought. His eyes met hers, and she saw something close to shame there. I didn't want to do that. I've been trying to distance myself, to be cleaner. But when it comes to protecting you and Eli... Stop, Anna held up a hand. Just stop. You can't protect us, Cole. You can't fix this. Because the problem isn't those men out there. The problem is that knowing you puts us in danger in the first place. Anna.
No.
Listen to me, her voice cracked. I like you. God help me, I actually like you. But I can't have my son afraid in his own home. I can't have men in SUVs watching my garage. I can't live looking over my shoulder, wondering if today's the day your past catches up with all of us. Cole's face fell. You're right. You're absolutely right. So this ends.
Now.
Today, even as she said it, her heart was breaking. No more coffee. No more visits. We go back to being strangers. If that's what you want. It's not about what I want. It's about what's safe. He nodded slowly, taking a step back. I understand. I'll stay away. But Anna, if you ever need anything, if you're ever in trouble, I'll call the police. Like a normal person. The ghost of a sad smile crossed his face.
Right.
Normal. He turned to leave, and Anna almost called him back. Almost told him that she'd spent the last 20 minutes more terrified than she'd been since the day they buried Eli's father. Almost admitted that despite everything, she felt safer when he was near. But she didn't. Because some distances exist for a reason. And some men, no matter how hard they try to change, carry shadows too dark to outrun. For 2 weeks, Anna didn't hear from Cole. 2 weeks of telling herself it was better this way. 2 weeks of Eli asking where he went. 2 weeks of her garage feeling emptier, even when it was full of cars. She buried herself in work, brake jobs, oil changes, a complete engine rebuild on a '67 Mustang that should have been exciting, but just felt like a distraction. Jerry stopped by on Tuesday, took one look at her face, and asked if she wanted to talk about it. She didn't. Then, on a rainy Saturday afternoon, Eli made everything worse. Anna was in the apartment's tiny kitchen, making grilled cheese for lunch, when Eli's voice called from his room. Mom? Who's Nikolai Vasaro? Her stomach dropped. Why are you asking? Because I Googled him. Anna abandoned the sandwiches and rushed to Eli's room, where he sat cross-legged on his bed with her old laptop, his face illuminated by the screen's glow. Eli, you can't just... You said he was trying to be different. But Mom, look at this. He turned the laptop toward her. The screen showed an article from the Detroit Free Press, dated 6 months ago. Vasaro empire expands. Federal probe continues as business holdings grow. Anna's hands went cold as she scrolled. The article detailed Cole's network, shell companies, construction firms, shipping operations. Legal businesses, mostly, but with alleged ties to organized crime, mentioned in every other paragraph. There's more, Eli said quietly, clicking to another tab. This article was older, from 5 years back. Bloody turf war ends with Vasaro consolidation. 3 dead in Detroit warehouse. Then another. Federal witness disappears before Vasaro trial. And another. Construction fraud investigation stalls. Key evidence missing. Anna felt sick. She'd known Cole was dangerous. Had known he came from a dark world. But seeing it laid out like this, the violence, the corruption, the bodies, made it real in a way her imagination hadn't. Mom, Eli's voice was small. The construction fraud thing. That article says the company was called Grant and Vasaro Construction. It says they used cheap materials and people got hurt. Workers fell because scaffolding broke and... Stop, Anna's voice came out strangled. Just stop reading. But Eli was already looking at her with those 2 smart eyes. Dad died from faulty scaffolding. From a construction accident. What if? No, Anna grabbed the laptop, closed it with shaking hands.
No, Ellie.
Don't even think it. That was a different company. A different accident. But what if it wasn't? What if Mr. Vasaro's company? Eli, stop. She said it too sharply and Eli flinched. Anna immediately softened, pulling him close. Baby, I know you're scared. I am too. But we can't jump to conclusions. Your dad's accident was investigated. The company responsible was called Bridgemont Construction. Not Grant and Vasaro. Completely different. You sure? I'm sure. She kissed the top of his head, even as her mind raced. I'm going to make some calls, okay? Just to be safe. But I need you to promise me you won't go digging around on the internet anymore. Some things aren't meant for kids to see. I'm not a kid, Mom. I'm 9-inch. You're my kid. And I need to protect you, even from information. She tilted his face up to meet her eyes. Promise me. Okay, I promise. But after Eli went to bed that night, Anna couldn't help herself. She pulled out her own phone and searched for the name that had been haunting her since the afternoon, Grant and Vasaro Construction. The results were damning. The company had been dissolved 7 years ago amid multiple lawsuits, faulty materials, code violations, injured workers. There were testimonies from families who'd lost loved ones. Photos of collapsed scaffolding. Legal documents that went nowhere because witnesses vanished or changed their stories. And there, in one article's sidebar, was a photo from the company's early days, 2 men shaking hands in front of a construction site. One was older, gray-haired, identified as Marcus Grant. The other was younger but unmistakable, Nikolai Vasaro, maybe in his mid-30s, before the silver in his hair, before the weight in his eyes. Anna's hands trembled as she scrolled further, looking for any connection to Bridgemont Construction, for any link to the accident that had killed her husband. She found nothing concrete. Different companies, different ownership structures, different accidents separated by years and geography. But the timing was close, and the methods, cheap materials, cut corners, disappearing evidence, were identical. At 2 a.m., unable to sleep, Anna pulled out the box she kept hidden in her closet. The box with Tom's death certificate, the police report, the settlement paperwork from Bridgemont Construction. She read through everything with fresh eyes, looking for connections she'd been too grief-stricken to see for years ago. Bridgemont Construction, owned by a holding company called Riverside Development, which was owned by another shell company, and another. The trail disappeared into a maze of corporate structures that would take a lawyer weeks to untangle. But one name appeared in the fine print of the settlement agreement, listed as a consulting firm that had provided the investigation, Grant Consulting Services. Grant. Anna's breath caught. It could be a coincidence. Grant was a common name. Could be completely unrelated to Marcus Grant, Cole's former partner. Or it could mean that Cole's old company had somehow been involved in covering up the accident that killed her husband. She sat on her bedroom floor, surrounded by papers, as dawn light started creeping through the windows. Her phone was in her hand before she could stop herself. Cole's number pulled up on the screen. Her finger hovered over the call button. She needed answers. Needed to know if the man who'd paid her mortgage and brought her coffee had any connection to the worst day of her life. But calling him meant opening a door she'd just closed. Meant pulling him back into her life when she'd finally pushed him out. Anna stared at the phone for 10 full minutes. Then she pressed dial. The phone rang once.
Twice.
On the third ring, Cole's voice answered, rough with sleep. Anna? What's wrong? I need to see you, she said, her voice steadier than she felt.
Now.
And I need you to tell me the truth about something. A pause. What kind of truth? The kind that might make me hate you. Silence stretched between them, heavy and dangerous. When Cole finally spoke, his voice was quiet and resigned. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Cole arrived in 19 minutes. Anna met him outside, away from the apartment where Eli slept. The pre-dawn air was cold, and fog hung over the empty street like a curtain. Cole looked like he hadn't slept. Same clothes as yesterday, hair disheveled, that careful composure cracked around the edges. Anna, whatever you found. She thrust the papers at him. Grant and Vasaro Construction. That was your company. He took them slowly, his face unreadable in the dim light from her garage.
It was.
A long time ago. 7 years. That's not that long, her voice shook. You built things with cheap materials. Cut corners.
People died, Cole.
Workers fell from scaffolding that shouldn't have passed inspection. I know, he said it quietly, without defense. That's why I left. Why I dissolved the partnership with Marcus Grant. But you didn't go to the police.
Didn't make it right.
You just walked away and let him keep operating under different names, and his hands clenched into fists. My husband died 4 years ago.
Construction accident.
Faulty scaffolding. And the company that covered it up used Grant Consulting Services for their investigation. Cole's eyes widened. Anna, did you know? The question ripped out of her. When you met me on that highway, when you came to my garage, when you paid my mortgage, did you know that your old partner might have been involved in killing Tom? No, he said it firmly, meeting her eyes. I swear to you, I didn't know. I haven't had contact with Marcus Grant in 6 years. After I left the company, I tried to distance myself from everything he built, everything we built together. But you knew what he was doing. You knew he was still operating. I suspected, but I had no proof. And by then he stopped, jaw tight. By then I was too deep in other things. Things that seemed more urgent. I told myself it wasn't my problem anymore. Anna laughed bitterly. Convenient. You're right. It was convenient. And cowardly, Cole handed back the papers. But Anna, I need you to understand something. When I met you, when I kept coming back, it wasn't guilt. It wasn't some elaborate scheme. You reminded me of why I wanted out of that life in the first place. You are everything I stopped being. That doesn't change what you did, what you let happen.
No.
It doesn't. He pulled out his phone, his expression shifting from defensive to determined. But maybe I can start changing it now. If you'll let me. What are you talking about? Marcus Grant. If he's still using the same playbook, still cutting corners and covering up accidents, there will be evidence. Paper trails. Witnesses who are afraid to come forward. Cole started typing rapidly. I still have contacts. People who owe me favors. We can find proof. Anna stared at him. You want justice for your husband. I want to make amends for standing by while people got hurt. That means we want the same thing. He looked up from his phone. But I need you to trust me. Just for this. Just long enough to get the truth. Every instinct told her to say no. To send him away and never look back. But the image of Tom's face swam in her mind, his laugh, his hands that had been so gentle with Eli, the way he'd kiss her forehead before leaving for work each morning. If you're lying to me, Anna said slowly, if this is some kind of manipulation, then you'll never see me again. And you'll take everything you find to the police. Cole's voice was steady. I'm not asking you to trust me as a friend. I'm asking you to trust that I'm tired of being the person I've been. And that starts with fixing what I broke. Anna took a shaky breath. What do you need from me? Everything you have on Bridgemont Construction. Every document, every name, every detail from the investigation. He was already texting someone. I'm calling in a favor from a journalist I know, someone who specializes in corporate fraud. And I've got a contact inside the Construction Workers Union who's been trying to build a case against Grant's network for years. That won't be enough. He's covered his tracks before. That's because no one's ever had inside knowledge. Cole's eyes met hers, and she saw something dangerous flickering there. I know how Marcus operates. I know the shell companies he uses, the inspectors he bribes, the lawyers who make evidence disappear. I helped build that system, Anna. Which means I know exactly how to tear it down. 20 minutes later, they were in Anna's tiny kitchen, documents spread across the table, while Cole made call after call. Each conversation was brief, coded, but effective. By the time the sun fully rose, he'd assembled a network, an investigative journalist named Sarah Chin, a union organizer named Mike Torres, and a whistleblower from inside one of Grant's current companies, someone Cole identified only as a friend who's been waiting for the right moment. This is insane, Anna muttered, watching him work. Yesterday I told you to stay away. Now we're planning to take down your former business partner. Life's funny that way. Cole accepted a cup of coffee she handed him, their fingers brushing briefly. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. For all of it. For being part of a system that hurt people. for not stopping it sooner. 4. Don't, Anna cut him off. Apologies are just words. Show me with actions. I will. By noon, Sarah Chen arrived, a sharp-eyed woman in her 40s with a recorder and a laptop. She listened to everything, took copies of all Anna's documents, and made notes with the efficiency of someone who'd done this 100 times. This is good, Sarah said finally. But we need more. We need current evidence that Grant's companies are still operating the same way. We need witnesses willing to go on record. Cole's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen and something shifted in his expression. We might have that. My contact just sent something. He opened an encrypted message and turned the phone toward them. Anna's breath caught. It was a photo of internal documents, safety inspection reports that had been falsified, invoices for substandard materials marked as premium grade, and a list of incidents that had been buried with payoffs and legal threats. All dated within the last 6 months. All from a company called Bridgemont Development Group, the current iteration of the company that had killed Tom. He's still doing it, Anna whispered. Cole's jaw clenched. Not for much longer. Sarah was already typing, her fingers flying across the keyboard. I can have this story ready in 48 hours. But Cole, if I publish this, if I name Grant and his network, it's going to make waves. Big ones. People will ask how I got this information. Your name might come up. Let it. Cole's voice was steel. I'm done hiding from what I was. Time to face it. Anna looked at him, really looked at him, and saw something she hadn't seen before. Not the dangerous man who'd scared away SUVs. Not the businessman who paid mortgages. Just someone trying to do one right thing in a lifetime of wrong ones. 48 hours, Anna said. Then we take him down. The article dropped on Wednesday morning. Sarah Chen's headline screamed across every major news outlet. Construction empire built on blood. Grant network exposed in decades-long fraud scheme. Anna read it on her phone while making Eli breakfast, her heart pounding with each paragraph. Sarah had done her job perfectly, naming names, citing documents, including testimony from workers who'd been injured and families who'd lost loved ones. Tom's accident was mentioned, along with dozens of others. By 9 a.m., the story had gone viral. By 10 a.m., federal investigators announced they were reopening multiple cases. By noon, Anna's phone started ringing with numbers she didn't recognize, reporters, lawyers, victim advocacy groups. She ignored them all, focusing on getting through the day, getting Eli to school, opening the garage, pretending everything was normal even though her hands shook every time she thought about what they'd unleashed. Cole texted at 1 p.m., "Stay alert. Grant will retaliate. I've got people watching your place." Anna wanted to text back to ask what kind of retaliation, but Eli's school called first. "Ms. Delvecchio? This is Principal Morrison. We've had a situation." Anna's blood went cold. "Is Eli okay?" "He's fine, but there was a man here earlier asking questions about him. Claimed to be doing a survey about after-school programs, but our secretary felt uncomfortable. We asked him to leave, but I wanted you to know." Anna was in her truck before the principal finished talking. She picked Eli up early, ignoring his protests, and drove straight home. As they pulled into the garage, she noticed it immediately. Her office window, the one facing the street, was cracked. Not broken, just cracked, like someone had thrown something small and hard at it. A warning. "Mom, what's wrong?" Eli asked, sensing her tension. "Nothing, baby. Go inside and lock the door. Don't open it for anyone but me." She waited until Eli was safely in the apartment before examining the window. On the ground below, she found a rock with a rubber band wrapped around it. Attached to the rubber band was a note. "Back off, or the next one goes through the kid's bedroom." Anna's hands were shaking so badly she almost dropped it. She pulled out her phone to call Cole, but before she could dial, a car pulled up, not Cole's Mercedes, but a silver Lexus she didn't recognize. The driver got out, and Anna's stomach sank. He was mid-50s, distinguished-looking in an expensive suit, with graying hair and cold blue eyes. "Marcus Grant," She recognized him from the photos she'd found online. Ms. Delvecchio, his voice was smooth, professional. I think we should talk. Get off my property. I just want to clear up some misunderstandings. He took a step closer, hands visible and non-threatening, but Anna could see the calculation in his eyes. That article this morning, very unfortunate. A lot of false information being spread by disgruntled former employees and… My husband died because of your company's negligence, Anna's voice was steel. There's no misunderstanding about that. Grant's expression didn't change. I'm sorry for your loss.
Truly.
But that accident was investigated thoroughly and found to be an unavoidable tragedy. The settlement your family received was hush money to make me go away quietly. It was fair compensation. His tone hardened slightly. And I'd hate to see you lose more by pursuing baseless accusations. You have a son to think about, a business, a home you nearly lost before someone mysteriously paid your mortgage. The implication hung in the air like poison. Are you threatening me? Anna demanded. I'm reminding you that actions have consequences. You've aligned yourself with some very dangerous people, Ms. Delvecchio. Nikolai Vasaro isn't the reformed businessman he's pretending to be. He's using you to settle old scores. Grant pulled out a business card, setting it on her workbench. When you realize that, when this all falls apart, call me. I take care of people who are smart enough to know when to stop. He walked back to his car with the unhurried confidence of a man who'd never faced real consequences. Anna stood there, shaking with rage and fear, until his Lexus disappeared down the street. Then she called Cole. He was here, she said without preamble. Grant. At my garage.
Deli.
Cole's voice turned to ice. What did he say exactly? Anna told him everything. The cracked window, the note, Grant's visit. When she finished, the silence on the other end was more terrifying than any response. Cole. I'm coming over.
Don't go anywhere.
Don't open the door for anyone. What are you going to do? What I should have done 6 years ago. The line went dead. Anna paced her garage for 20 minutes before Cole arrived, not alone, but with 3 other vehicles. Men she didn't recognize stepped out, all wearing casual clothes but moving with the coordinated efficiency of soldiers or worse. Cole's face was hard as granite. Pack a bag. You and Eli are coming with me. What?
No.
This is my home. Grant just threatened your son, Anna. He's not bluffing. When men like him feel cornered, they lash out at the weakest targets. His eyes softened slightly.
Please.
Just for a few days. Until I can make sure he understands that touching you would be the biggest mistake of his life. By doing what? Starting a war? By reminding him that I still have resources. And that I'm willing to use them. Cole stepped closer, his voice dropping. You wanted me to fix what I broke. This is part of it. Grant learned his methods from me. How to intimidate, how to threaten, how to make people disappear into legal red tape. Which means I know exactly how to fight him. Anna looked at his face, at the cold determination there, and realized she was seeing the real Nikolai Vasaro. Not the man who brought coffee. Not the reformed criminal trying to change. But the person he'd been before. Dangerous, calculating, and utterly ruthless. I don't want Eli around violence, she said quietly. Neither do I. That's why he'll be somewhere safe while I handle Grant. Cole glanced at his men, who'd positioned themselves around the garage perimeter. But we need to move.
Now.
Grant showing up personally means he's desperate. And desperate men don't stop with warnings. Anna thought of Eli inside, probably doing homework and completely unaware that their world was imploding. Thought of Tom, who died because men like Grant valued profits over lives. Thought of all the families who'd suffered because people stayed silent out of fear. Okay, she said finally. But Cole, no killing. Whatever you're planning, no one dies. His jaw tightened. I can't promise that if he comes after you first. Then promise me you'll try. Promise me you'll find another way. Cole held her gaze for a long moment, and she saw the war happening behind his eyes, between the man he'd been and the man he was trying to become. I promise I'll try, he said finally. That's the best I can do. It wasn't enough, but it would have to be. Cole took them to a safe house 30 miles outside town, a modest ranch home that looked ordinary from the outside but had security cameras on every corner and reinforced doors that clicked with heavy locks. Anna spent 3 days there with Eli, watching news coverage of the scandal spreading like wildfire. More victims came forward. Federal agents raided Grant offices in 4 states. The Attorney General announced a task force specifically targeting construction fraud. But Marcus Grant remained free, appearing on television with his lawyers, calling the allegations a coordinated smear campaign by criminal elements. Criminal elements. He meant Cole. On the 4th morning, Anna woke to find Cole sitting at the kitchen table, staring at his phone with an expression she couldn't read. "What happened?" she asked. He looked up, and she saw exhaustion in every line of his face. "Grant's PR team found out about my connection to the investigation. They're spinning it as a mob vendetta, claiming I fabricated evidence to destroy a legitimate businessman who refused to partner with me. That's insane. Sarah verified everything independently." "Doesn't matter. They're planting doubt. And they're good at it." Cole set down his phone. "I've been getting calls all morning. People I thought I could trust, suddenly worried about being associated with me. The journalist is being pressured by her editors. The union organizer received threats. The whistleblower vanished, probably paid off or scared off." Anna sank into a chair. "So, he's winning. He's fighting back." "That's different." Cole's jaw tightened. "But he made a mistake. A big 1-inch. "What mistake?" "Last night, someone vandalized my car. Slashed the tires, spray-painted threats. Very amateur. Very obvious." He pulled up a photo on his phone, his Mercedes covered in red paint that read, "Criminal scum." "How is that a mistake?" "Because I have security cameras. And the footage shows it wasn't random vandalism. It was one of Grant's own employees. A guy named Derek Simmons who works in Grant's accounting department." Cole's smile was cold. "Grant ordered it. Left his fingerprints all over the operation. And when I pulled Simmons's employment records, I found something interesting. He's been embezzling from Grant for 2 years. Small amounts. Careful, but documented." Anna's mind raced. "So you can use that against him?" "Better. I can offer Simmons a deal. Immunity in exchange for testimony. Real testimony, not the kind Grant can make disappear." Cole leaned forward. "But there's a problem. Grant knows I figured it out. He called me an hour ago." "What did he say?" "He wants to meet. Tonight. At your garage." Cole's expression darkened. "He says if I don't show up, he'll make sure you lose custody of Eli. Claims he has evidence you're involved with organized crime. That you're an unfit mother." Anna's blood turned to ice. "He can't do that. He can try. And even if it doesn't stick, the investigation alone would destroy you.
Child services would get involved.
You'd have to fight it in court. Eli would be questioned, maybe temporarily removed." Cole stopped at the look on her face. "I'm not going to let that happen." "So, you're going to meet him?" "Yes." "And what? Beat him up? Threaten him? Prove his point that you're nothing but a thug?" Anna's voice rose. "Cole, this is exactly what he wants. He's baiting you into doing something that'll discredit everything we've built." "I know." "Then don't go." "I have to." Cole stood, pacing the small kitchen. "Because he's right about one thing. I can't protect you from a distance. Can't stop him from dragging you through legal hell unless I face him directly." "So, what's your plan?" Cole was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was measured. "I'm going to give him what he thinks he wants. A confrontation. Me alone, emotional and off balance. He'll feel confident, in control. And that's when people make mistakes. That's not a plan. That's suicide." "It's a plan if you trust me." He met her eyes. "Anna, I've spent 15 years learning how men like Grant operate. They're bullies. They rely on fear and intimidation because actual power is too expensive. When you call their bluff, when you show them you're not afraid, they collapse." Anna wanted to argue, wanted to lock him in the safe house and call the police and let the system handle it. But she'd seen how the system worked, or didn't work. How men with money and lawyers could make evidence vanish and witnesses recant. "I'm coming with you," she said. "Absolutely not. It's my garage." My fight, Anna stood, meeting his stubborn expression with her own. "And he threatened my son. So I'm coming. You don't get to be noble and stupid without me there to stop you." "Anna, you promised you'd try to handle this without violence. Having me there makes you keep that promise." She crossed her arms. "Besides, you need a witness. Someone Grant doesn't control. Someone who can testify if this goes sideways." Cole looked like he wanted to argue more, but something in her expression stopped him.
Fine.
"But Eli stays here with Marcus." "Marcus? One of my men. Former Marine. He's good with kids." Cole pulled out his phone to make arrangements. "And Anna, when we get there, you stay in the truck. Let me talk to Grant first. Only come out if I signal you." "What's the signal?" "You'll know." They arrived at the garage just as the sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and red that looked too beautiful for what was about to happen. Grant's Lexus was already there, parked in the same spot as before. Marcus Grant stood by Anna's workbench, examining her tools like he owned them. He looked up as Cole approached, that same cold smile on his face. "Nikolai, right on time. And you brought the lady. How gallant." Anna stayed in the truck as promised, but kept the window down so she could hear. "Let's skip the pleasantries," Cole said, his voice level. "You wanted to talk. So talk. I want you to back off. Stop feeding lies to the press. Stop digging into my businesses. And in return, I'll forget about your little mechanic friend and her unfortunate tendency to associate with criminals. And if I refuse?" Grant's smile widened. "Then I'll destroy her. Slowly. Methodically. The way you taught me to destroy people who got in our way. Remember, Nikolai? You were the one who showed me how to bury evidence. How to threaten families. How to make people disappear into legal nightmares." He stepped closer. "I learned from the best. So don't pretend you're better than me now. We both know what you are." Cole was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was quiet. "You're right. I taught you all of that. And I have to live with that. But there's one thing I didn't teach you, Marcus." "What's that?" "When to stop." Cole pulled out his phone and pressed play. Grant's own voice filled the garage. "Then I'll destroy her. Slowly. Methodically." The recording continued. Every word Grant had just spoken, captured clearly. Grant's face went white. "You recorded this? This conversation is inadmissible. In court? Maybe. But in the court of public opinion." Cole's smile was sharp. "You just confessed to threatening a single mother and admitting you've destroyed people before. How do you think that'll play with the federal investigators who are already circling you?" "You son of a..." "I'm also recording video." Cole gestured to Anna's security cameras, which he'd upgraded 2 days ago. Every word, every threat, all backed up to the cloud in real time. Grant's composure finally cracked. His face flushed red, his hands clenching into fists. "You think you've won? You think this changes anything? You'll still what?" Anna's voice cut through the garage as she stepped out of the truck. "Threaten my son again? Vandalize my property? Because now we have proof. Now we have your confession. And if anything happens to me, to Eli, to anyone I know, it all goes public. Every recording, every threat." Grant's eyes darted between them, trapped and furious. "This isn't over." "Yes," Cole said quietly. "It is. You just don't know it yet." Grant stormed to his car, and for a moment Anna thought he might actually drive away. But then he spun back, his face twisted with rage. "You destroyed me," he screamed at Cole. "You ruined everything we built."
No, Marcus.
"You destroyed yourself the day you decided money was worth more than lives." Grant stood there, trembling with fury, before finally getting in his Lexus and tearing out of the parking lot, gravel spraying. Anna exhaled slowly, her whole body shaking. "Is it really over?" Cole watched the taillights disappear. Not yet, but soon. He was right. Within 24 hours, Grant's recorded confession went viral, not released by them, but leaked by someone inside Grant's own organization. Someone who'd finally had enough. The dominoes began to fall. The news broke on every channel at once. Anna watched from her garage, Eli safely beside her, as the headlines scrolled across her phone. Grant Industries under federal investigation, CEO facing multiple charges. By noon, footage of FBI agents entering Grant's corporate headquarters flooded the internet. Boxes of documents carried out. Employees escorted outside. Marcus Grant himself, flanked by lawyers, refusing to answer reporters' questions as he ducked into a black car. But that was just the beginning. Within hours, more dominoes fell. The whistleblower who'd vanished reappeared, this time with legal protection and a detailed testimony about years of fraud. 3 more construction workers came forward with evidence of falsified inspections. A former Grant accountant released internal emails showing deliberate cost-cutting that violated safety codes. Sarah Chin published a follow-up article with a damning headline, "The Grant Method: How One Man's Greed Cost Hundreds Their Lives and Livelihoods." Anna read it with trembling hands. There, in the middle of the article, was Tom's story. Not just another statistic, but a full paragraph about the husband and father who'd kissed his family goodbye one morning and never came home. About the settlement that had barely covered funeral costs. About the widow left to raise a son alone while the company responsible faced no consequences. Until now. "Mom," Eli's voice was small. "Is this about Dad?" Anna pulled him close. "Yeah, baby. It's about Dad. And a lot of other people's dads and moms and families." "Are the bad guys going to jail?" "I think so." Finally, by evening, the scope of the scandal became clear. Grant Industries wasn't just one company. It was a network of shell corporations spanning 12 states. The fraud went back 20 years. The victim count was in the hundreds, maybe thousands. Workers injured. Buildings condemned. Families bankrupted by legal fees while Grant hid behind corporate structures designed to shield him from liability. Cole called at 8. "Turn on Channel 7. Anna did. The news anchor was grim-faced. In a stunning development, federal prosecutors have announced charges against Marcus Grant and 17 associates, including fraud, racketeering, and negligent homicide. The investigation, which began with a single whistleblower and an exposé by investigative journalist Sarah Chin, has uncovered what officials are calling one of the most extensive construction fraud schemes in recent history. The screen showed footage of Grant's factories shutting down, padlocks on gates, workers standing outside, some angry, some relieved. Then came interviews, families of victims, their faces no longer hidden, their voices no longer silenced. A woman Anna recognized from the support group she'd briefly attended after Tom died. "We thought we were alone. We thought nobody cared. But knowing other families went through this, knowing someone finally listened, it changes everything." Anna's eyes burned with tears. "Anna?" Cole's voice was soft through the phone. "You still there?" "I'm here," she wiped her face. "Is it really happening? Are they really going to pay for what they did?" "The legal process will take time. Trials, appeals. But yes, Grant won't walk away from this. None of them will," he paused. "There's something else. The prosecutors want to talk to you. Your testimony about Tom's accident, the settlement, the connections we found, it's crucial to the case." Anna's stomach tightened. "I'll do it. Whatever they need. I'll set it up. But, Anna, my name is going to come up. They'll ask about my involvement, about why I helped expose Grant. It might get uncomfortable." "Let it. You did the right thing, Cole." Finally, the word finally, hung between them, an acknowledgement of all the years he hadn't done the right thing, all the damage he'd been part of before he'd tried to change. "Yeah," he said quietly. Finally. The next day, Anna reopened the garage. She'd been closed for almost a week, and cars were backed up down the block. But something had changed. When customers came in, they recognized her from the news, from the articles, from the interviews she'd given to help other victims find their voice. "You're that mechanic," old Mr. Chin said, dropping off his truck. the one who took on Grant. I didn't do it alone, Anna replied.
Still.
Takes guts, he handed her the keys. My nephew worked for one of Grant's companies. Got injured 3 years ago. Company denied his claim. Maybe now he'll finally get justice. I hope so. Throughout the day, more people stopped by. Some were customers. Some were just townspeople who wanted to shake her hand, to thank her, to share their own stories of being crushed by systems that protected the powerful and ignored the powerless. By closing time, Anna was exhausted, but something inside her felt lighter than it had in 4 years. Eli helped her sweep up, chattering about his day at school. Everyone was talking about you, Mom. Mrs. Henderson said you were brave. Tommy Richards said his dad said you're a hero. I'm not a hero, baby. I just wanted the truth to come out. That's what heroes do, though. Eli looked up at her with Tom's eyes. Dad would be proud of you. Anna's throat tightened. You think so? I know so. Eli hugged her waist. He'd be proud of Mr. Vasuro too. For helping.
Yeah.
Maybe he would. That night, after Eli was asleep, Anna sat in her tiny kitchen with a cup of tea and pulled up the news one more time. The coverage had shifted from Grant's arrest to the broader implications. Networks were discussing construction industry reform. Politicians were calling for stricter regulations. Workers' rights groups were demanding protections. All because one journalist had been brave enough to publish the truth. All because witnesses had finally felt safe enough to speak. All because someone from inside the corrupt system had decided to tear it down. Her phone buzzed. A text from Cole. They formed a union. The workers from Grant's factories. They're calling it the Grant Victims Coalition. They want to make sure this never happens to anyone else. Anna smiled through tears and typed back. Tom would have joined that union in a heartbeat. Cole's response came quickly. Then we honor him by making sure it succeeds. By making sure the next father who goes to work comes home safe. Anna set down her phone and looked around her small apartment. The mortgage was paid. Eli was safe. The truth was finally out. But the work wasn't over. It was only beginning. Tomorrow, she'd call the prosecutors. She'd give her testimony. She'd add her voice to the hundreds of others demanding justice and change. Tonight, though, she let herself grieve, not just for Tom, but for all the lives cut short by greed, all the families broken by systems that valued profit over people. And she let herself feel something else too. Hope. Hope that maybe, just maybe, the world could be better than it had been. That people could change. That justice, however slow, could still arrive. That a sandwich on a highway could lead to all of this. 6 weeks after Marcus Grant's arrest, Anna stood in front of her garage and tried to imagine something different. The building was the same, weathered wood, a hand-painted sign that had seen better days, oil stains on the concrete that no amount of scrubbing would remove. But in her mind, she saw something more, something bigger. You're sure about this? Jerry asked, standing beside her with a measuring tape and a clipboard full of sketches. No, Anna admitted. But I'm doing it anyway. The idea had started small. Just repairs, fixing the cracked window, repainting the sign, maybe upgrading some equipment. But then Cole had shown up 3 weeks ago with a proposal that had knocked the wind out of her. The Grant Victims Coalition wants to create something, he'd said, spreading papers across her workbench. A community center, job training, mental health support, a place where people affected by corporate negligence can find help. He looked at her carefully. They want to build it here, around your garage. Anna had laughed. My garage? This tiny falling apart building. Your garage that became a symbol. Where the confrontation happened. Where someone finally stood up. Cole had tapped the papers. They've raised money, donations from across the country, contributions from unions, grants from worker advocacy groups. Enough to buy the surrounding properties, expand the building, and turn this into something that matters. And what do I get out of it? You'd run the automotive training program. Teach people real skills. Give them a chance to build lives like you built yours. He'd smiled slightly. Plus, you'd finally have a garage that doesn't leak when it rains. Now, 6 weeks later, construction was set to begin next Monday. The lot next door, an abandoned warehouse, had been purchased by the coalition. The building would be gutted and rebuilt. Anna's garage would remain at the center, expanded and modernized, but keeping its bones, keeping its history. Mom, Eli's voice carried from inside. Mr. Vasaro's here. Anna turned to see Cole's Mercedes pulling up, but this time he wasn't alone. Sarah Chin stepped out of the passenger seat, camera crew following behind. We're doing a follow-up piece, Sarah explained, approaching with her recorder. 6 weeks after the scandal broke. How the victims are rebuilding. How justice is actually changing lives, she gestured to the garage. Mind if we film? Anna glanced at Cole, who shrugged. Your call.
Fine.
But keep Eli's face out of it. I don't want him more exposed than he already is. Of course. They spent the next hour filming, Anna talking about the plans, Jerry explaining the construction timeline, members of the Grant Victims Coalition arriving to share their stories. A woman named Patricia, whose husband had died in a collapse 2 years before Grant's arrest. A young man named David who'd been injured at 19 and told he'd never work again. An older mechanic named Ray who'd lost his business when Grant's company had cheated him on a contract. All of them finding purpose in building something new from the wreckage. What about you? Sarah asked Anna during a quiet moment. How are you doing? Really? Anna considered the question. Some days are good. Some days I wake up angry that it took this long. That Tom had to die before anyone listened. That so many people suffered while men like Grant just kept getting richer. But then I see this. Anna gestured to the people gathered around the garage. Workers, victims, volunteers. And I think maybe something good can come from tragedy. Maybe Tom's death wasn't meaningless if it helps prevent others. Sarah nodded, scribbling notes. And Cole Vasaro? He's been pretty involved in all this. How do you feel about his role? Anna looked across the lot to where Cole stood with Eli, the two of them examining the construction plans. Cole was pointing something out, and Eli was nodding seriously, asking questions. Cole's complicated, Anna said carefully. He did terrible things, was part of systems that hurt people, but he's trying to make amends. Trying to be better, she met Sarah's eyes. I don't know if that's enough to erase what he was, but I know it's more than most people in his position would do. Do you trust him? I trust that he wants to change. Whether he can actually do it, Anna shrugged. That's a question that takes a lifetime to answer. That evening, after the film crew left and the volunteers dispersed, Anna found Cole sitting on her workbench, staring at the empty lot next door. Penny for your thoughts, she said. Just thinking about what this place will become. How many lives it might change, he looked at her. Your husband would be proud of you. You didn't know him.
No.
But I know you. And people don't become who you are by accident. They learn it from somewhere. Cole slid off the workbench. I wanted to tell you something. The prosecutors offered me a deal. Anna's stomach tightened. What kind of deal? Immunity for my testimony against Grant and his network. Full protection in exchange for everything I know about how their systems work, he paused. But there's a catch. I have to testify about my own involvement. Admit publicly to everything I did when I was Grant's partner. The fraud I helped enable. The people I hurt. That could destroy you. Probably. My business contacts will vanish. My reputation, what's left of it, will be gone. Federal authorities will watch me for years, he met her eyes. But I'm going to do it anyway. Why? Because you asked me to fix what I broke. This is how I fix it. By making sure every piece of that corrupt system gets exposed. Even the pieces I built. Anna studied his face, the determination there, but also the fear. Cole Vasaro, the man who'd faced down thugs and criminals without flinching, was afraid of the truth. When? She asked. Trial starts in 2 months. I'll testify probably 6 weeks after that, he smiled weakly. Plenty of time to get my affairs in order. What will you do after? After the testimony? Cole was quiet for a long moment. I don't know. Maybe disappear for a while. Maybe try to build something legitimate. If anyone will work with me, he looked around the garage. Maybe stick around here and learn to fix cars properly. You could use an assistant. Anna laughed despite herself. You want to be my apprentice? Why not? I'm good with engines. And I work cheap. You work for sandwiches. Best currency there is. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the sun set over the empty lot that would soon become something hopeful. Cole, Anna said quietly. Thank you. For all of it. For helping get justice for Tom. For helping all those families. For trying to be better. Thank you for giving me a reason to try. Eli appeared in the doorway, backpack slung over one shoulder.
Mum, I'm hungry.
Can we get Mickey's? Anna glanced at Cole. Want to join us? They make a pretty good turkey club. Cole's smile was genuine this time. I've heard that. Never actually tried 1 inch. Then it's about time you did. The three of them piled into Anna's truck, worn seats, rattling engine, radio stuck on the country station, and drove through town toward Mickey's diner. And for the first time in 4 years, Anna felt like maybe, just maybe, everything was going to be okay. 4 months later, the grand opening arrived on a perfect spring morning. Anna stood in front of the transformed building, barely recognizing it. What had once been her small, struggling garage was now something extraordinary. The old barn structure remained, carefully restored, its weathered wood treated and preserved, but it had been expanded on both sides. Clean white walls. Large windows flooding the workspace with natural light. Modern equipment gleaming in neat rows. But it was the sign above the entrance that made her throat tighten. In polished steel letters, welded by local metalworkers who'd volunteered their time, it read, "The Sandwich Deal Auto Training and Community Center, where good deeds travel far." Below, in smaller letters, in memory of Tom Delvecchio and all those lost to corporate greed. It's perfect, Eli whispered beside her, squeezing her hand. The parking lot was packed. News vans, union representatives, families of grant victims wearing matching blue shirts that said, "Justice delayed is not justice denied," workers ready to begin training programs, volunteers who'd spent months making this dream real. And there, standing off to the side like he wasn't sure he belonged, was Cole. He looked different. Thinner, maybe. The expensive suits were gone, replaced by simple jeans and a button-down shirt. The trial had taken everything from him. His business connections had evaporated overnight when he testified, his assets frozen during investigation, his name dragged through every headline. But he done it anyway. Told the truth about everything. Named names. Provided evidence that had sealed convictions for Marcus Grant and 14 associates. Grant himself was awaiting sentencing, facing 20 years minimum. His empire had been dismantled piece by piece, his wealth seized to provide restitution to victims. Anna caught Cole's eye and nodded toward the building. He shook his head slightly, gesturing that this moment was hers, not his. She walked over anyway. You should be up there. You made this possible. You made this possible. I just stopped getting in the way. Cole. Anna, I testified yesterday. Final day on the stand, his voice was quiet. The prosecutor asked me if I thought I'd earned redemption. You know what I said? What? That redemption isn't something you earn. It's something you pursue for the rest of your life. Knowing you might never reach it, he looked at the building. This place, it's not my redemption. It's my apology. There's a difference. Before Anna could respond, Sarah Chen's voice called out. We're ready to start. The ceremony was simple. A local pastor said a blessing. Patricia, who'd lost her husband, cut the ribbon with shaking hands. Ray, the older mechanic, spoke about second chances and communities that lift each other up. Eli read a short speech Anna had helped him write about his father, his voice cracking only once. Then Anna stood at the podium, looking out at the sea of faces. For months ago, I was just trying to survive, she began. Trying to keep my garage open, raise my son, and get through each day without breaking. I didn't think I could change anything. Didn't think my voice mattered in a world where men with money and power made all the rules. She paused, finding Cole in the crowd. Then someone reminded me that sometimes the smallest actions create the biggest ripples. That asking for what you need, even if it's just a sandwich, can open doors you didn't know existed. That standing up, even when you're afraid, gives other people permission to stand up too. Anna's voice strengthened. This center isn't just about fixing cars. It's about fixing systems. About teaching skills, yes, but also teaching people that they deserve safety,
Dignity.
justice, that their lives matter more than profit margins, that when corporations hurt them, someone will fight back. Applause erupted. Anna saw tears on faces throughout the crowd, people who'd lost loved ones, who'd been injured, who'd spent years being told their pain didn't matter. We're going to train 50 workers in the first year, Anna continued. Mechanics, welders, electricians. Real skills that lead to real careers with fair wages and safe conditions. We're going to provide counseling for families dealing with loss, legal aid for people fighting corporate negligence. And we're going to make sure that what happened to my husband, to all our loved ones, never happens again. More applause. Louder now. So welcome to the sandwich deal, Anna finished, smiling through tears. Where we believe that small acts of kindness can change the world. Where we prove that ordinary people can beat extraordinary corruption. Where good deeds really do travel far. The crowd surged forward as the doors officially opened. Anna watched people stream inside, some to enroll in training programs, some just to see what hope looked like in physical form. Cole appeared at her elbow. You did good. We did good. Anna, he hesitated. I'm leaving town for a while. Few months, maybe longer. I need to figure out who I am now. What I can build that isn't tainted by what I was. Her heart sank, but she understood. Where will you go? Not sure yet. Somewhere quiet. Somewhere I can work with my hands and not think too much. He pulled an envelope from his pocket. But I wanted you to have this first. Inside was a deed. Anna's eyes widened as she read. The property next door. The warehouse lot, everything the coalition had purchased. All transferred to a trust in Eli's name. Cole, I can't. It's not a gift. It's an investment. In Eli's future. In what you'll build here, he smiled. Plus, I signed over my shares in Vasaro Freight Systems to the Victims Fund. Figured I should start completely clean. You're giving up everything.
No.
I'm finally letting go of things that never really belonged to me. He glanced at Eli, who was showing volunteers around the garage with pride. Take care of him. And yourself. And all those people who need what you're building here. I will, Anna's voice wavered. Will you come back? Eventually? Maybe. If I figure out how to be someone worth coming back, as Cole squeezed her shoulder gently. But Anna? Even if I don't, thank you. For the sandwich I never ate. For the second chance I didn't deserve. For reminding me that people like you exist in the world. He walked away before she could respond, climbing into an old pickup truck, not his Mercedes, which had been sold months ago, and driving slowly down Main Street. Anna watched until the truck disappeared, then turned back to the sandwich deal. Inside, laughter and conversation echoed. Tools hummed. Lives were beginning to rebuild. Eli ran up, breathless and excited.
Mom.
Ray says I can start learning basic mechanics next summer. And Patricia wants to know if we need help with the community dinners. Tell her yes. Tell everyone yes. Anna pulled him close, looking up at the sign gleaming in the morning sun. We've got room for everyone here. As they walked inside together, Anna thought about the strange journey that had brought them here. A broken-down Mercedes on a dusty highway. A man trying to outrun his past. A simple request for a sandwich that had somehow unraveled decades of corruption and built something beautiful from the ruins. She'd asked for bread and meat and called it payment. She'd received justice, community, and hope. And somewhere out there, Nikolai Vasaro was learning the same lesson she'd taught him on that first day. Sometimes the smallest kindness is worth more than all the money in the world. Sometimes a sandwich is never just a sandwich. Sometimes it's the beginning of everything changing.